Oh, we're definitely risking it for a biscuit today. We're out without the umbrella, but it's quite breezy and well, it was sunny when I went out, but now it looks like the sky's looking a bit grim. Why do I do this? Why? Oh, why do I do this? I have no idea. Not too tightly wrapped. Anyway, we're out. We'll see what we can get done. Coming up for another weekend. I thought I'd get out today because I'm not too sure how the weather's going to pan out over the coming weekend. So I thought I'd get out here, get a walk done, get a video done, and yeah, take it from there. Oh. Really cold though. Definite chill in the air. I was been playing some American Truck Simulator. I really enjoy them games. They're pretty nice, sort of chill, strange tree, nice chill games. They kick back away from the usual maniac racing games that you can have. But yeah, I enjoy them. I have the Euro Truck Simulator 2 as well. And one of the few games that I actually do buy all of the DLC for, because they're actually good value. I mean, in Euro Truck Simulator, they'll add a whole country. You know, the main road networks and cities and so on. American Truck Simulator is adding whole states. So it's sort of gradually working its way towards the East Coast. The only thing that's missing from them games are seasons. There's no snow. You get rain, you get thunder, and that's it. You don't get any extreme weather, which would be a rather interesting addition, I think, especially to the American one. You know, and if you were driving through Tornado Alley, but there are no seasons, and that's sort of the only drawback. Whether they'll eventually add that, I mean, it probably is quite complex to do, but it would be great if they did. But no tornadoes, no snowstorm, no icy roads or anything like that. But you do get rain and you do get thunder. And obviously there's day and night cycles as well. But overall, I think they're excellent. Really good. If you've got a PC that'll run it, I mean, they ran well on my laptop. It ran okay. I mean, I had to turn the settings down, but it ran all right on my laptop for years. And then when I got my PC, I was able to crank everything up to max. and it still looks pretty damn good. Should do some videos of me playing them, shouldn't I? Anyway, yeah, felt like I got down here quite quick. Anyway, I will see you all in the park. Oh, well, here we are in the park. You always think it's kind of quiet in here when you first come in, and then everybody sort of appears from nowhere. It's quite weird. Anyway, what we're going to talk about today? No idea. Well, I do actually have some ideas that might be kind of interesting to talk about. Big thing I think about quite a lot is, you know, you think about gaming, how it used to be, and you get like the nostalgic feelings from it. Especially, you know, if you're like me, you've been sort of gaming since it started, really. You know, in like the 90s, the 80s, going through into the 90s and the 2000s and so on. I mean, you know, it was around in the 70s, not to the extent that it got to in the 80s. You know, in that period, it was like, I don't know, kind of very basic level. In the sort of late 70s, you know, with your Pong stuff, and then on to Space Invaders. But like actual computer gaming, as it was called, you know, playing on the stuff like your Spectrums, your Commodores, your Amstrads, your Acorn, BBC, all that kind of stuff. That was an 80s thing. And I always think that's kind of where it started for me properly. Even though I was, you know, as a little kid, gaming in the 70s. And it was the 80s gaming era that I go back to when I think retro, when I think nostalgia. The Commodore 64 is like the number one thing I think of in that, you know. That's what I think of more than anything. You know, certainly more than stuff in the 90s, you know. So I've been gaming for many years by the time it got to the 90s, so I don't quite have the same nostalgia for that. It's weird, isn't it, how it works in your mind. Absolutely love going back and playing on a Commodore 64. I was sort of thinking about it when I was playing Ridge Racer, and yeah, there were nostalgic feelings, but I don't know, it still feels kind of relatively recent, even though it's like 30 years, pretty much. I guess it's like your brain goes into denial. But yeah, it's been a long time, and thinking about PlayStation now, here's a weird concept. When I got the PlayStation in the mid-90s, we're 30 years out from that now. We're 30 years out from all of that. And if I knock 30 years off, working backwards from when I got the PlayStation in the mid-90s, you'd be in the mid-60s. There wasn't such a thing as like playing games consoles at home or anything like that. It's such a weird thing, isn't it, that when you think about it in them terms, God, I mean, even if I'd knocked 20 years off, things were just, 20 years off from the PlayStation. We were just starting with electronic games. It was, still almost in its concept stage. How weird is that to think, what a strange concept. The kids today, when they look back, say you were 20 years old, a PlayStation was out before you were 10 years before you were born. That would be like really old tech. And it's just strange to think about, think about things in that sense. And yeah, makes you wonder what it's going to be like in 20 years' time. What's gaming going to be like in the future? I mean, it's metamorphosizing and changing all the time, isn't it? Yeah. All of the different tech that's out there now. There's more computational power, in my pocket with my iPhone. There's more computational power in that than there was in my Commodore 64, which was, a chunky old wedge of a thing. You wouldn't describe it as being something you could carry around, and it's been like that for a number of years. It's incredible to think in such a really short period of time how we've moved technology forward. And I was thinking, will that continue or will it plateau? I think on the sort of linear path that it was going on, I think that's over. And what I mean by that, I mean like more power, more RAM, faster processors. The introduction of GPUs, for example, that was a significant shift. And we've kind of come down the road with GPUs now. You just think, well, that linear progression is something that probably isn't going to be how it goes in the future. It'll probably be a sort of a sidestep and then a jump, into a completely different direction with a completely different, sort of, I don't know, almost like a different evolutionary path that it'll take. They keep putting the feelers out there, don't they, with all the different stuff. You think about, like, when it was 3D and then it jumped to VR. They're probing that pathway that's going to be very transformative. I think VR's come quite close. It's almost like there's a move forward and then it stops. And then another move forward and then stops with it. It's not making those leaps and bounds that it did. I mean, I have a VR headset and I think it's great. It's really good. But it's not for everyone. It is quite, I don't want to use the word discriminatory, but more sort of exclusive. It's contingent on you as a person, not having certain health issues, particularly visually. I mean, I wear glasses, and I'm lucky that I've got a pair of glasses that I can wear while the headset's on. They're small enough. I've got two sets. I mean, you can get around it. You can get lenses made, prescription lenses made for the VR headset. But there are other factors. It was like motion control was a thing for a while, and then with Kinect, Microsoft really pushing that, PlayStation Move, the Wii controllers. It's interesting that pretty much Sony and Microsoft have really pulled back from that. Yeah, the PS5 controller has motion features in it, but they ditched the Move relatively quickly. Microsoft ditched the Kinect relatively quickly. In fact, the only time I see Kinect Move now is in paranormal shows. We talked about this on a recent post about Ghost podcast. So, when you factor things in like that, it is quite a unique situation with games. Everything seems to come back to the traditional way of controlling it. Well, there's basically two: mouse, keyboard, or joypad. Back in the day, it was a joystick. Joypads just replaced joysticks. But with VR, it's still trying to find its way. Sony come out with the PlayStation VR 2, and again, it's like they jump in and then they jump out. It's almost like they're not sure, and it becomes a bit of a cycle, because to get people on board, you need to have killer apps. You need to have exclusive games that'll make somebody who's sitting on the fence think, oh, sorry, I'll jump in. And that's the problem, you see. Why would I now invest in a PlayStation VR headset 2? Well, I wouldn't, because I get the feeling that they're sort of drifting away from it, and that's means it's not worth the investment. You don't want to invest in it. You don't want to put the time and the money into it. You build up a games collection and then they drop it and that's it. You know, you've got a device that's what, £200-300, you know, minus the games, and you basically don't have any future with it. So it's a difficult one, really. I mean, how will it move forward? We just seem to go back to the linear path of more power. But even that's reached a sort of, I want to say, like almost an apex, really. Reached a peak. Because now more power is not cost effective for a lot of people. We're seeing how much more expensive RAM is. I think I've mentioned it before, it's kind of funny. It used to be, back in the 90s, RAM used to pretty much equate to about £1 a megabyte. I worked for an IT company back then, and they were speccing up a PC for me. That was my Pentium 2 350. The engineer that was building it, you know, he said it works out about £1 a meg. So, you know, a 64 megabyte PC be about 65 quid when it comes to the RAM. So it's kind of interesting in that sense. These days, I don't think it's quite £1 a megabyte, but it's not cheap and the prices are going up. Scarcity of RAM and it being used more heavily, it would appear, in AI. Well, AI seems to be the one that's getting blamed for the shortage in this type of stuff, in this type of tech. And the thing is, AI, well, I don't know. I mean, what's it going to do with games? I could see it doing stuff for game development as a tool, but the actual act of playing games themselves, I don't know about that. I heard this thing whereby, you know, they're patenting some technology or whatever that will take over playing a game if you get stuck. I just can't see the point in that myself. I don't like that idea. I mean, you're just basically then becoming a passenger. You're sitting there while the computer plays the game for you. Where's the fun in that? But yeah, I've said it before, I think that advancements in terms of power are limited. You need advancements in terms of delivery. I mean, I love how they phrase it, like quality of life. You know, sort of advancements in all of that seems to be where I think not seems to be, it's where I would focus attention, because just throwing more fuel onto the fire is just costly, and these days that's not practical. The next gen of games consoles, already the rumour being that they will be considerably expensive. I'm not a huge fan of that idea. I think that the games industry will contract. People just won't buy it. They'll find alternative means, and it's not needed. The power's there. The power is there. It's just not being used correctly. It's not being used efficiently. I mean, you talk about like 4K gaming and all of this, and that's still not the standard. That is still not the base level. And how many years are we into that now? 10, 12, at the very least. So what's the point in pushing it any further? I think we need to perfect what we've got. So it's kind of interesting where we're at right now. The obvious pathways to, sort of future generations of gaming, those pathways are kind of diminishing somewhat. Because like I say, in the past it would be, let's make the tech more powerful. And that would deliver into the hand of developers the ability to make more deeper, bigger, more interactive gaming experiences. Whereas that's already been done now. If you think about it, that's been done for quite a few generations, hasn't it? You think back, we were doing this. Open world stuff was being done with the PS2. Like Grand Theft Auto 3. I was for its time, was a big open world game. San Andreas was even bigger still, and that was running on the same hardware. It was pushing the hardware, but it was running on the same hardware. So, when you think about that, it's let's go back this way. When you think about that, what's been the main thing since? It's just improved graphics and bigger worlds. Well, look at the size of Oblivion. The world in Oblivion. Playing that on the Xbox 360, that was one generation. But the essence is not changed. You look at how much more Skyrim had in it in that same generation. It'd be interesting to see what we get going forward. So yeah, just some thoughts really, thinking about where we've come from gaming and where we're headed, where we're going. What the future lies, not where the future lies, but what lies in the future for gaming. I think it's fascinating. I'm trying to take something of a positive slant, because the negativity is a very, very easy path to walk down. You just say everything's crap. But I think gaming is certainly, for me, it isn't as good as what it was. You know, I'm not into the online, and that, I suppose, is, you know, quite exclusionary for me. But I just don't think it is as good as what it used to be. It doesn't feel as exciting. I mean, all the hype, you know, all this year is going to be for Grand Theft Auto 6. And I'm like, is that it? You know? That sky. Let's go back this way. Yeah. Is that it? It's almost like GTA 6, it's like this huge monument, this huge monolithic thing on the horizon that's just cast a shadow across the gaming landscape. But not just this year, but for next year as well. Because it's the impact it has after it's been released. It's not like, oh, once it comes out, that's it, the next week the games industry will start looking for, you know, start looking at other things. No. It's going to dominate the landscape for the foreseeable future. Not just in terms of people playing it, but people talking about it. I think this, you know, traditionally GTA games have dominated the discussion in the gaming sphere. And I think this one may do more than others. Because we live in very divisive times. And GTA games have always held a degree of a satirical analysis, holds a satirical mirror up to where society is at that moment, and this isn't a great place to be. Society isn't in a great place, should I say, at this moment, is it? And one wonders just, how do you satirize what's going on right now? Especially when, you know, a few years ago, what we're living through now was the satirical analysis of society. We are living in the exaggerated satirical landscape of what we thought the world was years ago. How the hell do you hold a mirror up to that? It ain't going to be satirical, is it? It's going to be reflective. It's going to be, well, this is what the world is. And that's going to make people have to look at themselves. And that's going to create a lot of discourse. And I think it's going to be something that ends up being quite the narrative for some time to come. That's if they do it. That's if they deliver on how they've always delivered GTA games in the past. I think if they bottle it, is probably the wrong phrase, but if they don't do that, if they pull back from that, then I think they will also equally get a lot of critique, a lot of criticism thrown at them. So it just feels like everyone's sort of holding their breath a little bit with this. What's going to happen? I almost want it to be done. I almost want it to be out, done, finished. But there's going to be innumerable video essays, analysis, people that love the game, people that hate it, vitriol, pearl clutching. Pretty standard actually for a GTA release with the pearl clutch inside of things. It always makes me laugh, that. But yeah, I think that's going to be very interesting. Very interesting. And also because, well, this is coming out without Dan Houser. I think it's Dan, isn't it? No, it's his brother Sam. I think it's Dan, isn't it, that left the company. I always get like uncertain of things. Was it Dan or was it Sam? No, I'm pretty sure it was Dan Houser left. And he was sort of the, one of the main driving forces behind these games, Rockstar games. He's gone off to do his own thing. So there's going to be even more analysis if the game comes out and it has sort of forgone a lot of the biting, satirical stuff from the past. It's going to be very interesting, I think, to see just exactly how that goes down. Whether people will be saying, well, if it's not as good, if the content of the game isn't as good, well, is that it? Was Dan Houser the main driving force behind the operation? We'll see. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. I just hope it's a good game. I really do. Because if something that big falls over, I think the AAA industry will end up fundamentally changing forever. Because people will be, potential investors will be like, well, if that doesn't hit it, nothing will. It's not just a game failing, I don't think it will. I don't think it will from a sales perspective, just because of what it is. And even if it's a game that gets lambasted, a lot of people will get it for curiosity purposes. So I don't think there's any danger of that. But it's whether or not, it's how it's received, what the engagement will be beyond the initial sales. Because GTA in particular, if you look at in the online multiplayer, people playing it years and years and years after it was released, continuing to spend money on the DLC for that game, and engaging in that game many, many years after. If that engagement drops, that huge revenue stream will be what will go away. You might get a lot of sales of the games, but if people are walking away from it after a month or two, after they've done the videos and played it for a bit, if people then choose not to engage in it afterwards, that will be very problematic for Rockstar. So there's a lot riding on it, and there's a lot of eyes in the industry are going to be looking at this as, whether it's investment, how that's going to affect the idea of long development cycles for games. It's going to be a watershed moment, that's for certain. As the AAA is definitely on the ropes right now. Ubisoft, good God, it's all over the place. There's a lot of bad leadership going on there. When you're cancelling development projects and laying people off, the optics to that are horrific for a company that is struggling. You know, not that long ago, Ubisoft were right up there, hit after hit after hit. Almost felt like they couldn't do any wrong. And you know, now look at them. It goes to show, doesn't it? You know, how quick you can fall. You know, it can happen even within one console generation. It can happen. They've struggled to find that you know, the magic formula that Ubisoft once had. I don't know whether they can. It just seems to me like they're fumbling around. I mean, dear God, if you can't deliver a remaster of Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, if you can't deliver the remaster of that, you're in a really bad place. Really bad place. But they certainly are. They certainly are. Shame. A real shame. I think definitely for me the indie game space will be something that does benefit a lot from the woes in the AAA. I do think it'll benefit a lot. And that sky looks horrific over there. It's sunny behind me, but pretty bad over there. I may have to wrap this soon. It looks real bad. And it depends which way the wind's blowing, doesn't it, I suppose. I can't really gauge it at the moment. It's not that strong. So anyway, yeah, you know, just thinking on with it all, where we're going to be in, you know, sort of 10 years' time. What will the gaming landscape look like? Will it be unrecognisable from where it is now? Will it be the same? Will it be better? Will it have a resurgence? Don't know. I really don't know. It's a tough one to call this. You know, it's interesting, right? A lot of people in the industry analysing, you know, the games industry. It's very hard to predict. Remember years ago they said, like, mobile phone gaming will kill the handheld gaming market, and that didn't happen because the 3DS come along and it did gangbusters. And at the time, prior to its launch, most people were saying it's insanity. Like, why would you launch a handheld? Mobile phone gaming is going to take over and dominate, and it didn't. The 3DS was massively successful. Massively successful. And nowadays, you've got a hybrid with the Switch and the Switch 2 of both handheld and docked games console. So all of the, you know, all of the Nostradamuses out there that confidently predicted the demise. I mean, it wasn't just handheld gaming, it was gaming at large. It was being, you know, traditional gaming, console gaming and what have you. It was all being given the being given the last rites by these so-called experts. And that was like back in what, 2010, 2009, 2010. And here we are 15, 16 years later. And they're still around. I mean, the Switch is doing very well. Switch 2. The others might not be doing so well. I think PlayStation's doing all right. Microsoft isn't so much. Well, that's because, well, they just don't have any killer apps. They decided to share all their goodies with everyone else and sort of made the Xbox a non-essential device, which I still can't get my head around that. I mean, prior to Microsoft, re-registering themselves as a charitable institution, they were doing quite well with their console sales. Now they're not. Weird. But Sony, Nintendo, they're doing all right. I mean, Xbox did all right eventually. After the bumpy launch with the Xbox One, they stabilized. They did all right. Didn't learn the lessons from that though, but they did all right. I mean, it wasn't the apocalypse that these experts said it would be. In 5 years, games consoles will be a thing of the past. Yeah, how did that work out for you? Gamers, they don't sit for hours playing games on the phones. They do it on PC. They do it on consoles. Mobile phone gaming is the kind of thing, if you're stuck waiting in a queue, if you're stuck at the doctors, if you're stuck on the toilet, that's what that kind of stuff's for. If you want to play games properly, then that's not the device for you. And that's plain and simple. I think in some respects it's almost a gateway more than anything else now. I mean, I very rarely, only if I'm waiting at the doctor's or the hospital or whatever. It's about the only time I'll put a game on there, and it'll be something like solitaire. It'll be something very low level. So that's what I mean, like people predicting things right now. It's not the best place to be doing it. It's not a good enough place to be doing it from, because it's literally like you don't know what it's going to be. In the future sort of is unpredictable. Things can change the market almost overnight. It's hard to figure people's attitudes, buying attitudes. I mean, about the only thing you can say, if this next gen is ultra expensive, they won't sell as many. And that'll be it. They will not sell as many because people basically won't be able to afford it. So it won't be because of lack of demand. There'll be a lack of affordability. And that is an entirely different set of circumstances. And you might actually see someone come in to that area. I think Nintendo will probably emerge quite victorious from that, because the Switch 2 has only just come out last year. So that's got quite a few years. And it's not ridiculously priced. It's still affordable for many people. And it's reasonably powered. So if the next gen comes out and it's not affordable, people that want something new will have something to migrate to. So yeah, I think we'll call it there today. I've been out for a bit. I'm pushing it. I think these clouds are... Oh no, they're going away. Oh, yeah, there's more coming in. Yeah, I pushed it a little bit today with the old weather. I've been quite lucky that it stayed dry while I've been out. So, as usual, there won't be one tomorrow, for it is a Saturday. Weather permitting, there will be a Sunday stroll as usual, but that'll be again with weather permitting. And I'll be out here doing all this crazy stuff again next week. So, thank you if you've stuck with this all the way through to the end. Thanks for watching. And yeah, I'll catch you all later.